A mother of 3 is shot in her sleep.
She was barely alive by the time paramedics made it there.
You had a grieving brother who had called 911 and now a grieving spouse.
He seemed to be obviously devastated that his wife had been shot.
What were some red flags for police?
The gunman didn't take anything from the house. The build and even the voice of the suspect seemed familiar.
He wanted to save his own hide, and he told all. So he got some very incriminating words on tape of the main suspect. No one else had the means, motive, or opportunity to do this.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Lake Worth Beach, Florida, a coastal community located 60 miles north of Miami. A young mother was murdered in her own home. Investigators were on a hunt for a masked intruder, but the confusing clues would ultimately reveal a twisted murder-for-hire plot. It was after 2 a.m. on a warm summer's night in Lake Worth Beach, Florida, when a distressed man named Quay Greer called 911.
He called police because his beloved sister had been shot in the head in her bedroom while she was sleeping, and the home invader who came in had run out the door. So Quay, in hysterics, called 911.
Quay was staying at the home his sister Makeva Jenkins shared with her husband Euri and their 3 children when the unimaginable happened.
She was barely alive by the time paramedics made it there. They did take her to the hospital where she later died.
Quay and Makeva's husband Euri told investigators the horror they had just witnessed.
The intruder entered the home through the garage, sort of a makeshift barber shop. Euri was a barber by trade, and they were hanging out there.
Another friend, Dimitri Dale, was in the garage with them.
And then all of a sudden, a masked intruder came in with a gun and started asking for the money and then asking for Quest. Quest is the victim's mother.
The men told police the gunman forced them upstairs where Makeva and the children were sleeping.
The suspect was wearing a mask, so Quay got a look at the suspect's eyes. He heard the suspect's voice, but he didn't get a look at the suspect's face.
And that when the men made it to the second floor, Euri begged the gunman to allow Dimitri to take his 2 young children downstairs.
The gunman allowed Dimitri Dale, the friend, to take the children outside, leaving Euri and Quay upstairs. He asked them to lay face down on the ground, went into Makeva's bedroom, and fired a single shot in her head.
The men say the masked intruder then bolted out the door, demanded the car keys to Dimitri Dale's white Charger, parked outside the home, and drove off.
The gunman didn't take anything from the house other than the keys to Dale's car.
Quay offered police a theory that perhaps his mother, Quest, may have owed someone money, but that theory was dismissed by investigators.
I think police were able to pretty quickly rule out that Quest was not a viable theory here. She lived 45 minutes west in Belle Glade, and there's no reason that anyone would have been looking for her.
As the sun rose over Lake Worth Beach, neighbors and friends awoke to the news of the tragic murder.
Grieving spouse and Euri crying soon on national TV in grief over the loss of his beloved wife.
I held her in my arms. She was alive.
He seemed to be obviously devastated that his wife had been shot.
Investigators started working around the clock to find the depraved killer who had taken the beloved mother of 3 from her family.
The search was on for the Dodge Charger, which the intruder stole, and any other evidence that could tie this masked intruder to the crime.
They pulled a surveillance video and they were able to see that Dimitri Dale was in the car with another man.
As investigators searched for Makeva Jenkins' murderer and the getaway car, the community and her loved ones were still processing their heartbreaking loss.
Makeva was a mother of 3. She was expecting a 4th child with Euri. She, was loved by her friends, her family, very religious, involved with her church, and was a true rags to riches story. Came from the bottom and built herself up as this successful entrepreneurial woman.
And she told everyone about it online because that was part of her brand.
Jenkins posted frequently about starting her own business and helped others do the same.
She was a coach for others, teaching people how to be an entrepreneur.
Investigators thought perhaps Makeva's online presence may have played a part in her untimely death.
Makeva had also been making a lot of posts on social media, and she was just posting, I think, even snapshots of her bank account, talking about how much money she was making now and how well she was doing.
After she was murdered, there were people who thought that perhaps that is what led to her demise, that it was someone who had a pecuniary interest, someone who wanted to steal the valuables that she would show on social media.
But investigators quickly ruled that theory out.
No valuables were taken. No money was taken.
Police discovered the Dodge Charger had been abandoned.
The Charger was just a few blocks down the road from Makeva's house.
A thorough search of the car turned up few viable leads until investigators found a fast food receipt that was time-stamped just a few hours before the murder.
They went to that shop, they pulled the surveillance video, and they were able to see that Dimitri Dale was in the car with another man. I believe in the video he had gotten out of the car and was helping push it. It must have run out of gas. And that was when they got suspicious about this other person.
So now the search was on for this second person. So they brought Dimitri Dale in for some questioning.
Dale told investigators the second man was an acquaintance of his, 19-year-old Jovan Joseph. He said the two had been to the Jenkins home earlier that day.
Me and Jovan, before we actually left the house, were playing basketball on the basketball court, and Euri and all them was watching.
Okay.
Quay was watching too. So.
Okay.
So Jovan Joseph did come and play basketball in the driveway and get a haircut at Makeva's.
But Dale insisted Joseph had not gone back to the Jenkins home with him later that night.
When you came back by yourself?
Yeah.
All right.
But investigators found evidence that contradicted Dale's account.
So there was surveillance video. They were able to see Dimitri Dale entering Makeva's neighborhood that night and Jovan Joseph not far behind in a different car.
The crime and everything Dale was telling detectives just wasn't adding up. What were some red flags for police?
Well, the fact that the gunman was apparently asking for money, but then went into the home and took nothing, it immediately seemed targeted. They went upstairs, they shot Makeva, and they left. And it was also unusual that they had let Dale go downstairs with the children and go outside while this all occurred upstairs. And Dale potentially could have been getting help, calling police, and none of that ever happened.
And there was Makeva's brother, Quay, who was haunted by the suspect's eyes.
Makeva's brother, Quay, thought that the build and even the voice of the suspect seemed familiar, but couldn't identify him right away because he was masked. They started by putting pressure on Dale, who then put pressure on Joseph, and that was when things started to unravel.
"18-year-old Dimitri Dale had spoken to police about his movement in the hours leading up to the murder, but the information he provided only raised more questions. In the interrogation room, Dale acknowledged that he and Euri were close friends, but he vigorously denied having any involvement in or knowledge of Makeva's murder. He explained his actions when the gunman allowed him to go downstairs before the shooting.
I was like, hey man, let me just take the kid downstairs.
And what's his reaction? This guy with a gun?
He was just like, go.
All right.
I'm not trying to play Superman because there's too many lives at stake.
Dale said his cell phone was in the house and he was unable to make any calls before he heard the gunshot, and that seconds later, the gunman took off with his car. Dale's story began to fall apart when investigators continued questioning him about his connection to Jovan Joseph.
They started by putting pressure on Dale, who then put pressure on Joseph, and that was when things started to unravel.
Investigators questioned 19-year-old Jovan Joseph, and he denied being anywhere near the crime scene.
Jovan told police that he couldn't have been there that night because he was visiting a friend late at night at the hospital that was maybe about a half hour away from Makeva's home. Police did look into that and pulled the surveillance video, which showed he was in fact at the hospital, but once they were able to get that video time-stamped, it was not the time that Joseph said he was there, and only further proved that he could have been at Makeva's and then gone to the hospital.
The investigation was gaining momentum when investigators learned Euri Jenkins had made a call to his wife's life insurance company shortly after her murder.
I understand you have some questions.
About the beneficiary information. So the funeral home can know that it's a real policy and, that they'll get paid.
It looks like we confirmed information with them on the 3rd.
Yeah, they need to know that I'm the beneficiary so that they can proceed with the service for the funding company to go ahead and give them the money.
And you were the spouse, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm actually seeing on the application here that you were not listed as beneficiary.
Oh, wow. Is it the kid?
No, and unfortunately I can't disclose that. That's considered confidential, and I can only speak to the beneficiary on file.
Okay, I gotta figure out who is. Oh, wow. Dang, she didn't change it in time. Oh, man.
He said something very incriminating. Oh, she must not have changed it in time. In time for what? She didn't think she was dying. She wasn't sick.
Dimitri Dale was the first person to confess to the sinister plot set in motion by Makeva's husband of 5 years, Euri Jenkins.
Dimitri Dale stopped lying to law enforcement, and he did fess up. He wanted to save his own hide, and he told law enforcement that it was Euri who approached Dimitri to find someone who could kill Euri's wife, Makeva. Euri had some financial issues. He had a woman he had a baby with, and that woman wanted more child support, and Euri could not pay it.
Makeva's life insurance policy was worth $500,000. Still, police say Euri continued to play the part of the grieving widower.
Euri spoke to investigators. Euri spoke to TV cameras. He talked to the press.
With the help of Dimitri Dale, investigators built their case against Euri Jenkins.
So Dimitri Dale revealed to law enforcement that he had surreptitiously recorded phone conversations with Euri about the murder.
Investigators say he tried eliciting information out of Euri by telling him Makeva's brother, Quay, recognized the suspect from earlier that day.
Remember when the dude came in the house and Quay said, "Oh, that sound like the bitch homeboy."
That's what he said?
He said that?
No,
Yeah, he said that.
You never said that to me.
Yeah, you was standing right there. He said, "Man, bro, that sound like the bitch homeboy." And I said, "No, man, that ain't him." I had to call and tell you that.
Hey, so you didn't tell the detective anything dumb, right?
Hell no. Hell no, man. I ain't trying to go to jail, man.
The taped call was damning.
Dimitri was able to show that he was paid by Euri. He was able to show that he had gone with Jovan Joseph in the Dodge Charger. His story matched Jovan Joseph's, and his story matched what happened that day. They were all in cahoots.
Investigators say Makeva's brother Quay was stunned to learn his brother-in-law had orchestrated his sister's murder.
Quay did not suspect Euri right away. Quay thought they had a good marriage. Quay was friends with Euri. I mean, he was hanging out that night.
Police say the suspect seemed familiar to Quay because Jovan had been to Makeva's home earlier.
They had hung out before, and so that's when Quay saw the killer.
Early July, investigators asked Euri Jenkins to come to the station to answer some questions, and he showed up with a lawyer.
Why else would anyone want to go into your house and kill your wife? Because it's clear that that's their whole intention was to just kill her.
There's no other reason.
Did you know anything about a beneficiary change in your policy recently?
Yeah, my wife, we talked about it, but she changed the kids and put her name on the kids.
Do you remember when she made those recent changes?
I took everything for granted. I don't even remember. Like the time she tried to show me stuff, I just took it for granted.
Police say Makeva had requested a divorce a month before her murder, but those plans changed when she discovered she was pregnant.
Euri had never mentioned the pregnancy to police. It wasn't until they got the autopsy results that they even knew that Makeva was pregnant at the time she was killed.
Euri Jenkins was arrested 6 months after his wife's murder. The hardest part of preparing the case for prosecutors was offering Makeva's shooter, Jovan Joseph, and Dimitri Dale reduced sentences for their cooperation.
This is the kind of decision that prosecutors make all the time. Who is most culpable? And we made the decision that we could not convict Euri Jenkins without the cooperation of the shooter and Dimitri.
Jovan Joseph and Dimitri Dale both testified against Euri Jenkins.
Jovan Joseph testified that Euri Jenkins offered him $20,000 to kill Makeva. Dale was just sort of the middleman in this entire story who had introduced Euri to Jovan Joseph and then got caught up in it all.
And Dale's secret recordings wound up being heard by the jurors.
It was really powerful evidence against Euri because Euri was telling Dimitri to not cooperate, to keep quiet, to let the plan be completed, where it was obvious that an innocent person doesn't talk like this.
The trial was an emotionally charged event.
Quay was so overcome by emotion when he had to testify in court that he rushed the defense stand to try to attack his former brother-in-law. And that almost caused a mistrial. But the judge allowed the case to continue. Quay apologized to the court and then took the stand and testified admirably.
Euri maintained his innocence, but before the jury deliberated, prosecutors made sure to stress that he alone had put this sinister plan into action.
He was a principal to the murder. He organized the murder. He paid the murderer. And even though he didn't pull the trigger himself, he's just as guilty, if not more, because without him, none of this would have been set in motion.
Jurors deliberated for 3 hours before finding Euri Jenkins guilty of first-degree murder and sentencing him to life in prison. The shooter, Jovan Joseph, pled guilty to second-degree murder and received a 15-year sentence. And due to his cooperation, Dimitri Dale received a 45-day sentence with 15 years probation. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Statistics show that up to 40% of intimate partner homicides are linked to infidelity, and approximately 20% of spousal killers are motivated by money. Warning signs like extreme jealousy, intimidation, destructive behavior, and controlling finances may signal a relationship is headed down a violent path. Additionally, if your partner is pressuring you to make them the beneficiary of a life insurance policy or a will, this too may be a red flag. Leaving a toxic relationship can be challenging. For help, reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.